I'm Mary Liuzzo Lilleboe, the daughter of Viola Liuzzo, a civil rights worker who was murdered on Highway 80 in 1965. I came to Selma to commemorate Bloody Sunday and those who lost their lives for voting rights and to celebrate the victories of the movement. The people of Selma welcome me with open arms. It is here I feel closer to my mother than to any place else that I can go. My mother was murdered by 3 KKK men on Highway 80 while transporting Selma to Mongomery marchers. An FBI informant witnessed her murder, yet the 3 KKK men who committed the murder were found not guilty in a court of law. In preparation for my trip, I did internet research on Selma, and I came across information that shocked me to my core. The first thing I wanted to investigate, since I had heard his name so much lately, was Nathan Bedford Forrest. He is the Civil War, I believe he was a Confederate general, who in Mississippi they are planning to sell commemorative license plates celebrating Nathan Bedford Forrest. He was a slave trader, and actually, if you look up slave trader in the, just put it into Google it will come up and it will tell you that slave trading was a business and that there were 3 main slave traders in the South at that time, and there were 2 other gentlemen and Nathan Bedford Forrest. And he didn't import slaves from Africa, he actually bred them in what I would call stables and then sold them with, people knew what the prices were going to be. But really the issue isn't Nathan Bedford Forrest. The issue that I came across in investigating Nathan B. Forrest was that I had been familiar with the work of a woman named Patricia Godwin, who has been spreading hate and propaganda all over the internet since 1965, or at least since she was old enough to do it. And right now she's selling on the internet publications that the Klan put out shortly after the march, in which they tell the true story of the Viola Liuzzo slaying, the true story of the James Reeb slaying, who was actually, what they claim is that it was thought up by the people of the movement to kill James Reeb in order to bring attention to the movement. In other words, we, the people of the movement, killed him ourselves so that people would have sympathy with us. As I went on, she also has done a tape, and I recognized her. I saw some pictures, and I'll explain these a little later, but the magazines that she put on there, one of her main claims is that the Selma March was the largest orgy in history and the biggest lie since the Civil War. And she says, right on videotape, that my mother was nothing but a hardcore prostitute. And then I saw some pictures of a party honoring Nathan Bedford Forrest's birthday is held every year by the Friends of Nathan B. Forrest. And I recognized Patricia Godwin in those pictures, and I also saw the name Cecil Williamson. And where the shock came was that I found out that Cecil Williamson is the president of the Selma, Alabama City Council. But what surprised me even more when I saw the pictures was that I saw that the person who was speaking in front of a gigantic Confederate flag was Cecil Williamson, who's the chairman of the City Council of Selma, Alabama. Selma, Alabama, the heart of the civil rights movement and the place where my mother took the last steps of her life, and the place where 25,000 Americans came here to demand that their government live up to their promise that they would have the right to vote. Cecil Williamson also, along with Patricia Godwin, founded a group of the Friends of Nathan B. Forrest. They together are anxious to spread the word that of what happened, their hatred and their hatred literature that they still have held on to since 1965 when the Klan first produced it. The front cover of one book is called The Night Riders, and it is a picture of my mother's body in her car, which had to come from some kind of legal source, a policeman, I'm sure, of Lowndes County or something like that, and then released through the Klan resources. I decided that I love Selma, Alabama. I love Selma, Alabama. I love the people of Selma, Alabama. I know that the people of this area suffered more than most who were involved in the movement because most got to leave. And after the march was over, the people of Selma, Alabama, Lowndes County, Perry County were really victimized by the white people who discovered that they were participating or even watching the marches. They were thrown out of their homes if they were owned by white people. Of course, you know of the brutality, you know of the beatings on Bloody Sunday. So I decided that I wanted to go and I wanted to speak to the city council and tell them that despite all the love and goodness that I receive here, that plastered across the internet is this information on the president of the City Council of Selma, Alabama, which is 68% Native African American. The City Council itself is a majority black, and yet this man was voted by the people of his districts. That's fine. The white districts want him in their position, that's fine. But then this predominantly black city council voted him into the position of president of the city council, which will give him a lot of say. And it looked to me like he already has a lot of control of things. And should anything happen to the black mayor of Selma, Alabama, Cecil Williamson will become the mayor. But here's my point. There are hundreds of thousands of Cecil Williamsons in the world. I'm not going to change them. I don't care if the Friends of Forest want to put his name on their license plates, because I feel like, you know what? If you want to identify yourself as a lover of Nathan Bedford Forrest, that's fine with me. Go ahead. That just means I can stay further away from you. But when the people of our country who have fought and died and struggled right from slavery on up. People survived slavery. They survived it. It should have probably wiped out. It should have been genocide, but they survived. And they survived to get up to the 60s, where people came out and in strength and in unity got the right to vote, which was their right to vote since the Civil War, but they demanded that the government secure it. And here in Selma, Alabama, they allowed somehow, I don't know whether it's through apathy or whether it's through, I don't know, but they allowed this to take place in their city after all that they've given, that this wouldn't take place. So you understand, Cecil Williamson is a bad man. Patricia Godwin is a bad woman. And yet somehow they managed to get their agenda, their purpose, their reason for living, which is hatred, and bring it to one of the top places in the Selma City Council. So here's what I want to say. If this is happening here in Selma today, and that's happened, where else is it happening in the country? Where else have we gotten negligent or lazy or just not wanting to bother, either by not voting or just voting for whoever, just putting a mark on a piece of paper without taking the time to look into who these people are. Look, yes, we can go down and we can vote for our president, but if we don't get the support for him on this level, the level of cities and things, we're going to lose the battle. 2012 isn't very far away, and people have, my mother came here and gave her life to make sure that we all could vote. So now it's our responsibility to honor that legacy and to not let them down. 2008 we celebrated. I felt like for the first time in my life I was absolutely sure that my mother hadn't given her life in vain, that Jimmy Lee Jackson hadn't given his life in vain, that Dr. King hadn't given his life in vain. We have something to respect and protect. And I just want to close by reading you a couple of things that Dr. King said. And this is from Dr. King's speech, the day of the march. My mother was killed that evening. They told us we wouldn't get here. And there were those who said we would get here only over their dead bodies. Well, yes, sir. But all the world today knows that we are here. And we are standing before the forces of power in the state of Alabama saying, we ain't going to let nobody turn us around. And once more, the method of nonviolent resistance was unsheathed from its scabbard, and once again, an entire community was mobilized to confront the adversary. And again, the brutality of dying order shrieks across the land. Yes, Selma, Alabama became a shining moment in the conscience of man. If the worst in American life lurked in its dark streets, the best of American instincts arose passionately from across the nation to overcome it. There never was a moment in American history more honorable and more inspiring than the pilgrimage of clergymen and laymen of every race and faith pouring into Selma to face danger at the side of its embattled Negroes. On our part, we must pay our profound respect to the white Americans who cherish democratic traditions over the ugly customs and privileges of generations and come forward to boldly hold hands with us. We have come over a way that with tears hath been watered. We have come treading our paths through the blood of slaughtered, out of the gloomy past. Now we shall stand at last where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. This is Dr. King here in Selma, Alabama, before the march, or during the time of the march. And I just wanted to remind you of what he did, and I'll end it with this. How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, because you shall reap what you sow. How long? Not long. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. How long? Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. How long? Not long, because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. And I'm saying, we can't go back there. We can't go back there. But not getting up and not looking around and just getting comfortable is going to put us back in a place that it's going to be even harder to get out of. So I'm going to end with that, and I'm going to say, don't let the Cecil Williamsons and the Pat Godwins of our country get their hold back on our people.